This is for Mama. Okay. Um, I call it choosing the company, choosing your company. This is one of the reasons I love Longhouse Milo Stewart, and I've qualified this before. If I was in a different galaxy and I needed to learn how to communicate with other beings that speak a different language, then I would probably have to learn that language in order to communicate with them in their language. Even though you realize, even when Microsoft Windows first came out, they had language translators, which means I could be speaking in Chinese, communicate with you in DOS, or because it's a disk operating system, which means you're in a visual information system using mirrors to communicate with other mirrors, right? But if you learn a different language, which is based on the alphanumerical formatting of that language, what it means in frequency and vibration, then you realize if that's what they learned how to communicate is using that alphanumerical formatting, then you would use a similar formatting of language so that you can communicate back and forth. So you realize what the communication is. And now you get into neurons and chemical messengers. What is letting you know what's going on, which has to do with polarity integration, which means I'm experiencing a state of eternal love, which is eternal peace, which is eternal rhythm that is in harmony and balance with the first musician, which means you know how to tune your radio set, which is FM, which is female and male, right? Which is X is silver and female is gold, which means you're integrated as one, which means there isn't any separation between the Father and the Mother and Holy Spirit, right? To be one with all creation, which is three. Now you realize the importance of water and fire, or fire and water. So if you want to get into what Mr. Smith said when he said to Neil about purpose, what's the purpose of your energy? What's the purpose of your spirit, right? What's the purpose of the spirit of fire? What's the purpose of the living spirit in water? What's the purpose in the living spirit of the wind? What is the purpose of the living spirit in all the little elementals like calcium, phosphorus, right? All the elements on the periodic, iodic, IC. So you realize how they code everything. Like when I was growing up and I became a firefighter in my youth, they were using what's called the one code. One code. No, they called it 10, TEN, 10 code. So in other words, if you were going to acknowledge a transmission on a mic, you know what a microphone is, right? A ka mic, a light microphone, right? Mic. Hey, drop the mic, drop the mic, Mick Jagger, paint it black, right? Black sun, black mirror. It's all coded. It's I've always thought of them as teachers in their own right. Okay, so in other words, you know what film exposure is, right? Holographic film exposure. Now you're into shutter speed. Now you're into frame rate speed. Now we're into editing torsion field movie sets, holographic inserts, right? Now you're into code transfers. And experiencing different movie sets. And it's one of the reasons why when I was a child, I thought, you know what a parachute is, right? A snow cone. You know what a snow cone is? The ellipsis, right? An arc, like a rainbow arc. So my rainbow arc, right? Otherwise known as a rainbow solar dragon, fire-breathing dragons. What's the purpose of the spirit of fire? Breathing fire. Right? Fire breathers. Breathing fire. You better have a lot of water to cool that fire down, brothers and sisters. Right? So yesterday I was experiencing emerald fire. Golden fire and emeralds, right? Emerald pools, emerald water, right? Water worlds. Water worlds that are on fire. Right? Yeah, of course. So what's the purpose of fire? Purification. Right? They use the spirit of fire as a weapon. to destroy magical mirrors, which are the big breathers. That's why I go out and I hug trees and I thank them for their service. I thank them for their service. They are the big breathers. The planet is a living, breathing, living energy organism. Right. So those are the tears for what they did to her. So they're at war against the natural world. That's right. Because they live in a phantom hole. They keep losing energy. They keep losing energy. They keep losing energy. And they keep losing energy. So they keep needing more and more and more and more energy by those that are willing to give you all the love you need for free. That's why it's so painful. It's like falling down a well, a bottomless pit. Oh, I gotta pull you up out of that hole. Come back. You're falling down the hole. You're falling down the hole. No. So you're losing a part of yourself, of everything that you're giving love to, that fell down a hole. Because they keep chasing what it is that you are that they can't catch up to. So you realize it's a mind virus. No different than a virus in a computer. Right? Because look what it does. What I do to you, I do to me. Right? So you realize it can't help itself. What do you mean it can't help itself? It's stuck in a hole because it lost its memory. It lost the information technology management. It lost its memory of what it was once aware of, which is what love is. It goes on forever so that it's no longer experiencing what love is. So now it's in fear of what love is because it acknowledges that love is more powerful than fear. So fear becomes the lie. That's right. Because love is the absence of fear. So you realize, as I did when I'm an empath, when I was a child, that I'm experiencing what you're experiencing, which isn't what I am. I'm experiencing the fear in you that I'm experiencing in me, which is the fear that you're experiencing of what I am, which is what love is. That's a torque speed differential. So you realize that if you're not maintaining balance between going one way or the other, that the speed differential of a spiral current that's going the other way into a bottomless pit, and it's sucking all your light down into that black hole. You have to be more powerful than what it is to get back to zero. So you're experiencing eternity, which is eternal unconditional love, which is the energy that we experience who we are, that we give to the all creation to protect it. And that obviously is a high-speed shield, a volcanic shield, because volcanoes spin like galactic tornadoes. So the faster that you're spinning with the energy that you are, which is what love is, it goes on forever, you're maintaining a powerful magnetic drive motor, right? One that can run a galaxy. So imagine you're the energy that is being experienced, which is what love is, it goes on forever, is being experienced throughout an entire galactic tornado. Now scale that up to every galaxy. expand that up to an entire universe, a template, a crystal template, right? A crystal grid, a crystal spiral, right? A crystal radio set, just like the little crystals we used to have in shortwave radios, any radio actually, that you're using crystals. So quartz crystals on the beach, little tiny, 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 tiny crystals. That's a lot of crystals on a beach, right? So now you can sort of sort that through all the sand, all the crystals on the ocean floor, all the crystals and all the rocks, right? Transmitters, stereo receivers, communicating with rocks, communicating with dolphins, communicating with whales, communicating with trees, communicating with everything that is in the natural world telepathically, because you're experiencing the signal transmissions and you're translating the codes, which are the frequencies and the vibration of the experiencer. So you're experiencing the tree. You're experiencing the rocks communicating. So imagine that you can experience the history of a rock, like this volcanic shield, of when it first began, experiencing itself, being what it is in energy, that was spinning itself to form this island, this most powerful electromagnetic shield, a shield volcano in living spirit, which is living energy. I wish I could pull up some of the old images, photos that I had of Kilauea when it erupted back in, when was that, 2018. You could see Mama. I had pictures of Mama coming up through the frame, and you could see her. Now, in Hawaiian or Lemurian parlance, they call her Pele. Pele, like lei, like a flower lei, like the crown chakra, a flower around your head. That's why I wore a lot of flower prints. In the old days, we used to have silk prints. Silkworms comes directly from nature, trinary, right? Not binary. So you know the difference between the great living spirit of Mother Earth and what artificial intelligence is, right? A simulator, training simulators, right? So it's a beautiful day out here. See, for those of you that have never been over here on the Big Island, this is a very, very, if you're like my energy is a single pole, a polarity integrator, it's a gift. These are eternal gifts because they are eternal blessings, because you're experiencing eternal living light, which is eternal unconditional love that we experience in us, that we naturally just want to give everything away. So you can imagine how problematic that was as a child when I realized I don't want to hold on to any electrons. And because they're using a money system that's based on numbers, how could I survive if I wasn't at least using some of that energy in order to be able to make transactions, which are also known as distribution tables, which are also known as log scale table, which has to do with the exchange rate of speed, rate of exchange between the two poles. They're in balance, right? Now you get into the difference between calm communication system, calm Earths. That's one of the reasons I loved my clan mother, Karen Ann Luke McDonald. If you ever get a chance, go to her webpage or Facebook page. My libraries get scrubbed all the time for reasons that are too long to explain. I think I did it once because you know that information goes on forever, visual information goes on forever, recreating itself or experiencing something new. So that I call that a big tree, which is the big tree of creation, which means how much energy can you compress, right? And energy that would represent a library that is experiencing itself, say, for 47 galaxies. That's 11. Okay. And so imagine how many units of energy are experiencing itself, experiencing something new at the completion of every magnetic circuit. And then you could compress all those experiences into a single moment, magnetic moment. My God, you couldn't sound compress that into this planet, or this planet would just expand. It's such a, remember, critical mass expansion of energy, which is consciousness that is experiencing itself throughout, say, that many galaxies that are experiencing itself at once. And then imagine that inside one planet chip. There just isn't enough. It would just. So now you get into the compression and expansion of your movie set. So that's why I realized when I landed by parachute, which is a snow cone, right, which is um, consciousness on top, which is what love is, to protect everything below. As above, so below. So as your consciousness rises as an expansion of more light that you're experiencing through you, who you are, right? You want to use your energy to protect everything that is below who you are, right? So that's the observer observing the observed. So we realize that cells, when your cells, the center point of every cell within 57 trillion cells, are experiencing what love is. All the little spirits, which represent the spirals, the spiral waves that represent all the elements that make up everything that this has been assembled, which are the instruction sets that are experiencing what I am, and soul and spirit realize how much they're loved. So we work together. You're in a communication system, so all the little spirits and all the big spirits are all communicating with each other what we are, which is what love is. And trust me, if it's the truth, because if I was to share with you all the different experiences that I've had, that others would say, "My God, how did you survive that?" Most people would never survive something like that based on what? Statistics, the data. That's why I had a few doctors one morning who came to visit me in the intensive care unit at a hospital in San Bernardino, California, one morning, and said, "Somebody upstairs in higher consciousness, as above, so below, was looking out after you, because 99 out of 100 beings that had what it was you were experiencing don't ever survive it. So you represent 1 out of 100. 1 out of 100. You're the one. You're a Neo." Because we were ready to tag and bag you. That's the terminology that they use. A value tag. Like Walmart puts a number on a value tag, a price tag. Remember, Price is Right. See how they invert everything? The Price is Right. No. See how they invert everything? They invert everything because they are on the other side. They're in a hole. That's why I watched a movie last night that was actually painful in a way, and I tried to see if I could figure out from in my own way why I was experiencing something that I experienced in August of 1969, which was a movie which was called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now you can actually quantify as time sequences of what's held in memory, what's held captive in memory, that actually goes back to experiences that I've had that are held in memory, right, as a result of experiencing what I was experiencing at the time that it was occurring, by being aware of it in my mirror, what was coming through, the method in which that information is being presented, which in this case was a newspaper. And that newspaper was the Los Angeles Times, which is called the City of Angels, and angels, wings, bird tribes, versus angels. So you can pronounce the letters, alphanumeric energetic numbers, right, as angles, right? So now we're back to Mohawk, describing how the language, the native language, like Hawaiian language, ka, na, ka, ma, hole, right? Or ka, mi, ha, me, ha. The phonetics of the sounds, and how you're back in the reversal currents. And that's why so many of the letters and the way that they're arranged using the English language or the other languages that came out of Babylon, Babel, do not match the vibrational frequency of the intent because of the nature of the way that letters and numbers as energy that are produced as the way in which we communicate in sound and light, okay, do not match up. And so it's one of the reasons why I played with their language, because you already realize that. But because you realize why you're learning this language in order to communicate with others in the future, to protect the future of your children. So because English is in numbers, the number of people that are aware of what it is they're aware of in energy can understand and translate that language by the meaning in which it's being used, in which it's being communicated to others. Right? Okay. Given the time or the sequences in which we're experiencing each other through these mirrors, why that language is being used at the time in which we communicate to others that understand that language. So I'm using a language in order to communicate to others what I become aware of, what I've learned as a result of that, of how we're held captive by it through the visual information exchange mirror between an AI, which is dead light, and those of us who are living light, which is living spirit integrated with a soul that's communicating with all the others. So there is a method to the madmen, which are the salesmen, which are the snake oil salesmen, because they're always got something to sell us, because they want our electrons. Okay, from which we will use our electrical cellular energy in which to acquire more energy through the process of a job app, which is an API interface, which is a program, in order to keep the programming running the way that it was set up and constructed as a movie set. So that's why the parachute, I landed and I said, this is a child. Whoops. I landed on the wrong movie set. Wrong way movie set. That's the left-hand path of Set An. Satan, the father of reptiles. Now we're into seals. Sealing the breach. Sealing the timeline breaches. So you get sealed. This is where I loved Yellow Rose when she talked about how trauma, what they did with the reptile brain, when I realized I'm not a reptile. I'm not supposed to have a reptile brain and a mammal brain. Now you're into the neo, the limbic, and the fear-based brain, right? So the idea is to hardwire the central nervous system to the fear-based brain because of the trauma that they do to children. Now that you're in a state of fear, which is 100 megahertz, that's a lower vibrational frequency. That allows a reptile to be able to perceive you because of the energy that it uses to experience what it is as a seal, which is known as the branch of reptiles, versus the branch of man, which are the allied forces. So you realize why they use fear, which is a lie, in order to hold energy captive, which is perception, to their perception, upon which they maintain their feeding frenzy Shark Tank. That's their corporate stuff, which is the pyramid at the top, which is inverted. So that means there are fewer at the top feeding on everyone below as batteries that they maintain captivity of. Now we're back to leashes, collars, and cages as a source of energy and a source of DNA, which is why the CIA called it the farm. Animal Farm. Remember the book called An Ma El. El, the L's. Elohim, An as in Anunnaki, right? consciousness navigating a field of vampiric consciousness that is feeding on your energy to drain the electrical power, right? Because they realize they're running out of a source of the electrons as a result of us. You kick them out. So they realize how powerful we actually are, but why they're in fear of us. And that's the lie, because we are what love is. But you realize what happens with a psychopath that is a fully programmed unit. It is almost, how would I put this? It's like, don't even bother arguing with their mind. They're gone. What? Yeah. As a matter of fact, they want you to waste your energy on them because now they will feed on that energy. So it's just like, let it be, just let it be. So becomes the difference between what they are and what we are, which isn't what they are, because they're in fear of what love is, and we are what love is. That is a measurement, a scale measurement, a log scale function. Have a great day. I'm out of time.